G'day guys, welcome to PBHQ Live, episode number 337. It's March 6th, 2023. I'm Dwayne Nichols, live here in Wagga Wagga in Australia, and I've got not a heap of Australian stuff to talk about tonight. Well, I'm covering off on Australian teams and Australians doing well and a few Kiwis doing well across the world, throughout Asia this week just gone, in Singapore, coming up in Malaysia this coming weekend, as well as in the US this coming weekend. So big week just gone for our local paintball scene, and a big week coming up for our local paintball scene. So I hope you'll join me for all of it. If you can let me know who you are and where you are joining in the chat. Did you get to play on the weekend, or are you playing this coming weekend? Did you get to watch the live stream of the Singapore paintball series that I'll be talking about? Were you playing in Singapore? Let us know what you thought. Timmy Colgan is in. He was the model that you would have been staring at his beautiful face prior to the show going live tonight. A great photo, I guess we'll call it great, photo taken of Timmy at the conclusion of the Singapore Paintball Series was there. Simo is in, Amir is in from Malaysia, Brad Short from Wicked Assassins is in, Dan Anderson from PPG is in as well. So yeah, and if you can, particularly for you guys that will have friends on Facebook or social media from Singapore, from Malaysia, talking about both of their events, hit the share button, let them know about it, and I can check the analytics, which I really like about YouTube. And I'm seeing that the average person that watches PBHQ hangs around for about 20 to 21 minutes of the 30, which is pretty good as far as I'm concerned, that most people hang around for most of the show once they join in, which is good. But still, a lot of people that are watching the show aren't subscribed to the channel. So if you can go over and hit the subscribe button, that would be awesome. And then you can be reminded to join me each and every single Monday. Timmy is in the back of a cab on the way home from Universal Studios. Simo's keen for the Wagga 3-man, and Eden from Bon Voyage is checking in at the moment as well. So thank you for joining in, mate. Good to have you in the chat. Paintballshop.com are doing a special deal with a free shipping on all barrels and barrel kits this week. So if you or anyone in your team, anyone that you know is looking to pick up a new barrel or barrel kit, anything barrel related, even if it's just a barrel back or a barrel tip, they will do free shipping on any of those bits and pieces this week here in Australia. So good time to pick one up if you're looking for one for this season. I know in most states events have already kicked off, but for some events, like the Wagga 3-man coming up soon, like the NXL and the ACT, the first round is still to happen. So if you need a new barrel kit for this year, now is a good time to pick it up. You'll save some money on shipping with paintballshop.com this week, so head over there and pick it up. There is way more options than I thought. It sort of was always just the freak kit and like the dye barrels for the longest time, but HK have like 2 or 3 variations of their barrel kits now. There's a couple of other options out there as well. Planet Eclipse have obviously got their shaft kits too over on the website. So there's heaps of options that you can go and pick something up if you so wish at paintballshop.com. And I've already mentioned STK, and they'll sort of be a theme throughout tonight's show, given their results in the weekend, which I will be covering off a little bit more in just a bit. But they did win the Singapore Paintball Series. And not only did they win the event, but it was a double podium for STK, because the first event for their, I don't know if they're calling it like a sister team, a feeder team, their second squad, whatever. I think Jamie Angus used to call the TPC guys like their factory seconds, whatever it is, the entourage. They also got themselves on the podium, and we're going to go into that in just a little bit. So a shout out from Gladiator to the boys from STK on their results from the weekend. And it goes without saying, if you want to get a Gladiator tank like all of the best players and best teams in Australia that use them, well, gladiator.com.au can help you find your nearest stockist so you can get one as well. Luke from Make It Rain and the second team from Make It Rain is in for the Wagga 3-man. If that is the truth, and good timing, Alex War holding Simo's gun there at the Wagga 3-man last year. If that is the case, if Make It Rain's second team is in, the Wagga 3-man is now booked out. So that is awesome. I'm glad to hear that. Had 2 spots left as of last week. Make It Rain have snapped up one. And the Chiefs, which is Brandon Miller from SWAT and Brad Brandle from Marauders, they've come together. Jesse Burke too, to put in a team. So yeah, the last 2 spots are filled. And earlier tonight, I never watched the local news on the TV. I don't know anyone that watches the local news on TV anymore. But flicking channels, and I seen that Wagga on the Saturday of the weekend of the Wagga 3-man, the Wagga Food and Wine Festival is on, which attracts like all these wineries from hundreds of kilometres around, and all these food vendors from Sydney, Melbourne, Canberra, all over, as well as local, and it turns into a pretty big thing. There's a heap of wineries around our area, and the Food and Wine Festival is on the Saturday night prior to the event. So if you want to show up plonked on the Sunday morning, well, the Food and Wine Festival on the Saturday night might just be the place for you. Happy coincidence. Had no idea it was on. I've been a few times in the past, and it's always a good night though, so might be something for everyone to do when they get here. But let's get into the Singapore Paintball Series, STK Australia, and I specifically put them as STK Australia whilst they were playing in Singapore for the win there. Got the win over Hellions from Singapore in second, and Entourage also in this photo getting third, beating out the Red Sevens, the local team, again from Singapore, in fourth place. Farron got the MVP award over on the left. Looking staunch in the photo, by the way, Faz. There in that one, he got the MVP award. Timmy Colgan and apparently Faz agreed that just about anybody could have been awarded that on the day, such as the way that they played. I was working at the field here in Wagga the whole day and got home really only to see the finals, where they won quite convincingly. They did drop a couple of points throughout the day, but ultimately didn't drop any games and got the win. Entourage at one point were in second place overall, but ended up having to play against the big brother STK in the semi-finals. So STK went through to the first and second match, and then they were relegated down to play for third and fourth, but that is their first event together as a team. For Entourage, they had a fair chunk of their squad there, but were also represented by a couple of, was it Malaysian players or Singapore-based players that jumped in to help them out. So that was a great result for STK, not just for their main squad, but also to bring Entourage along and in their first event do so well. So great result for those guys. And I mean, there was a lot of quality in that team. It's not like it's brand new players, but it is their first time playing together. Shout out to Ben and Dom for their webcast. I think given the conditions, if you did get to check out any of it, I think they did an unbelievable job. It has improved so much over the years, the webcast for the Singapore Paintball Series. And given the rain that they experienced, I think Ben said it rained for 6 days straight prior to the event. It looked like the event was going to be a dry day at one point, and then it rained on and off throughout the day, and it rained so heavily at points that they had to call games off, or not call them off, but sort of postpone the games for a period of time until the rain eased enough for them to get back out on the field. But with that said, they still finished games at the allotted time. Such was the planning and the management by the guys at the SPS. They just get through their games. They run the split deck format, 8-minute games. They had 9 teams there at the event. They got through it all in a day. So they run a tight ship, and it was good to hear. Timmy saying a few players from Revivers here in Singapore were the ones that joined in with Entourage. So yeah, congrats to those guys, and probably a thank you too, I'm sure, from the guys at STK for doing that. And Lachlan saying awesome for the PB community to have travelling teams again and winning the events to top it off. I agree. And Amir saying webcast was superb in Singapore. Again, I totally agree. Dom's one of the best in the game. Ben's pretty entertaining when he gets on the mic, on the commentary desk, and runs you through the games as well. So shout out to those guys through what were no doubt really tough conditions. Ben, under the marquee that he was sitting in, he showed it a couple of times, is literally holding like a broom handle to poke the marquee for the water to run off, so the marquee didn't just like collapse under the weight of the water. So yeah, go back and watch it. You can see the field had puddles right across it. The conditions would have been tough. I heard the HK paint was good. They were paying like 75 Singapore dollars for it, so about 80, 82, 85-ish maybe Australian dollars for the paint. So cheaper than you would find here for the paint. $1,200 prize money for STK on taking out the event. And I think Timmy said it worked out at about $200 a player after they took into account their paint and the local licensing stuff to get their guns into Singapore, stored, various bits and pieces that you need to do. And Timmy's saying that the Revivers are helping out again at the MXBL, and I will be talking about that in just a little bit, so we'll go into that in the not too distant future. But yeah, it just seems like the Singapore Paintball Series, they always put on a solid event. The venue looks world class. The turf is great. Paint was good. I can't actually recall anyone ever saying anything all too disappointing about it. And Timmy said that the standards of the teams was getting better based upon previous visits that the guys from STK have had there too in the past. So all good things to say about the Singapore Paintball Series. It is one that I've been looking to get to for a long time. And going back to 2020, again, COVID, we were booked to go to New Zealand. And after New Zealand, we were going to Singapore that same year. And that same team is just the Asylum team of then is not the Asylum team of now. And an Asylum team traveling internationally will not be happening this year, but hopefully we can make it happen sometime next year. And Timmy's saying that they're fantastic hosts over there. And Chris Thomas is joining in at the moment as well. So thanks for checking in, mate. The NXL is back in the US this weekend, which is big news. If you're a Go Sports subscriber, you'll be able to watch that live on the Go Sports app this weekend. They'll be playing out of Florida, the Sunshine State Major. This photo of the New Look AC Diesel team who were out practicing with X Factor last weekend. I want to know what your thoughts are, who you think is going to win the event. I think Diesel probably have to go in as favourites. Even though it is a New Look roster, so many of the guys have played together before. Most recently on Latin Saints, a lot of them were on that team. They've played together on Impact. Different guys have spent time on Dynasty and the Iron Men together. So there's no lack of cohesion amongst those guys. I think that they will be giving a solid showing for themselves. I also think Dynasty will still be good. I noticed that Damien Vasquez is back down playing in the semi-pro division. Speaking of semi-pro, Manawatu Titans from New Zealand, so Dave Hopkins and his guys, they are currently in the US. They spent the weekend practicing over in the US this past weekend and gearing up for this coming weekend at the Sunshine State Major in a stacked semi-pro division. Semi-pro is probably looking stronger than it has at any point in my recent memory. A lot of pro and former pro players either stepping down or not being picked up by a pro team and finding their way into semi-pro, or life reasons are getting in the way and they can't commit to the pro schedule, but they're still playing in semi-pro. It's going to be a stacked division. Dave said that they're looking good. I hope that's the case. I hope they make a good showing of themselves at the first event this weekend. Craig from the Bounty Hunters is joining in, just sorting out the raffle giveaway. I did see that, by the way. I think they were giving away a GoPro 10 or 11. I can't remember where GoPro are up to. Something like that as a fundraiser to get them over to the Super 7s. If you want to drop some details in the chat, I'll be able to mention it for you, Craig. Really good idea as a fundraiser to throw something out there as a prize and get a bit of money back for your team so that you can travel and play an event. So if you can buy a ticket and support those guys, I'd recommend that you do that. They're hoping to make the trip to Super 7s, all 4 events this year from Adelaide, which is no small feat. So yeah, any thoughts on the NXL in the US? Drop them in the chat. What did I make? Oh, and yeah, I did make notes on the fact that we had teams traveling all over at the moment from Australia and New Zealand elsewhere, but it was also announced today that the Outlaws from Singapore are actually coming out to the Super 7s here in Australia for round 2. So that's good to see. I know the Red Sevens came out and played a few years ago. I know individuals from Malaysia and Singapore and elsewhere have been out in the past, but to get a whole team out again for a Super 7s is a great result for local paintball. A GoPro 11 and a Bose Bluetooth speaker is what they're giving away. So that's, yeah, pretty good prizes, pretty expensive prizes too. And for the sake of a $20 ticket, well, yeah, worth a shot. Amir thinks that Dynasty will be the team to beat. And Chris Thomas also says that his money is on Dynasty over Diesel, which is probably a pretty fair bet. I think they're going to be there on Sunday. I think the typical teams that you would expect to see on Sunday will be there, but there has been so many roster changes that there might be a couple of teams towards the lower end of the Sunday of the seedings that find their way in that might surprise a few people. I think the ML Kings have picked up a couple of handy players. The Russian Legion only just picked up 2 new guys. And then your Impacts, your X Factors, the teams that are always there or thereabouts. Revo, I expect that you'll see a lot of those guys. Infamous, perhaps, they should be there or thereabouts as well. So, yeah, keen to see how it all shakes out. I probably won't be watching much, to be honest, this weekend, but I'm always interested to see the results, and hopefully I can catch some games on Monday morning here to see the finals for that event. Other events coming up this weekend, back here at home, Total War is coming up. I know they've got players traveling interstate from Queensland and Victoria at least for this one. It is called Operation Black Widow. If you're an Action Pass holder, which is like their membership at Action Paintball, entry's just $32, then you buy your paint. Spoke to Adam today. The field maps that he does such a good job on, better than any scenario elsewhere here in Australia. Not that there's a lot of other scenarios in Australia, but anyone that's done them in the past has not done the field maps as detailed and as well as Adam does them. So he said that they will be dropping tomorrow. And he said it could be as many as 130 players, but they're expecting at least 100 players for the event. So it's shaping up to be another great scenario at Action Paintball Games. If you're going to play that one, let me know what you are thinking about that. I mean, they always do a good job. The photo I was going to use, and I decided not to, I decided to throw a photo of some players in there. Wade, and I wasn't sure who the other one was in front there. It might be Billy, given that it's got the green loader, but I'm not entirely sure. It could just be his loader. I had a photo that I found that Core took, and Core took that one as well, of some of the pyro that they do. So some of the things like the scenario games at Action Paintball, pyrotechnics, the speakers, all of that other stuff, it's pretty immersive stuff. They put a lot of effort into it. They make it good value for the players who head out there. So if you're undecided, you haven't regoed yet, get on there and do your rego. And if you are regoing in advance, which they encourage you all to do, you can pick your team. If you don't rego in advance and you try to show up on the day, well, firstly, you may not have a spot because there is limited numbers, but otherwise you'll just be put on whatever team needs numbers, so you won't get to rego for your preferred team if you leave it too late. So get on and do that. If you're looking to play at Total War this weekend, and look forward to seeing the video as always. I imagine Adam will get together a little 1 or 1.5 minute highlight clip from the event, so you'll see that next week on the show, all things going to plan. And then the other event is the Malaysian Xball League is happening at Kenyan Paintball. I spoke to Dave today. This is the field layout for the event, by the way. Dave is excited about the event. He's got 18 teams competing this weekend in Division 1 and 2. 18 teams also competing next weekend in their Division 3 event. There will be a live stream both days this weekend. Saturday may not be a full live stream. It might be a little bit more rudimentary, but the Sunday will be the full live stream experience. I've actually sent over a few dollars to sponsor that live stream. Dave, again, does a good job on that. And a lot of Malaysian paintballers have watched PBHQ in the past, have subbed to the Patreon, to the YouTube channel as well. So if you're someone who's watching at the moment who hasn't done either of those things, you definitely can. The easiest thing to do is sub to the YouTube channel. You can also go to patreon.com and sign up for that. And I should mention regarding Patreon, I've updated the, where's my hand here? Boom, right there. The tank vents will be next month's prize giveaway that I give away at the beginning of next month. And I messaged Connor from PB Athlete just after lunch today regarding doing the giveaway for tonight's show to see if the shirts were ready to go. I didn't actually hear back from Connor, and I know he's got a little bit going on at the moment. So I'll speak to him during the week, and I'll be doing the giveaways next week on the show for those ones. But the tank vents from Chris Dickens and the guys at Plague, I've actually got Plague shirt up in the background, a bit more WA love, and the Singapore Paintball Series shirt They sent me some time ago as well. So yeah, they will be the prize for next month. If you want to win one, patreon.com/PBHQ is where you need to go to sign up. You have until the end of the month to be eligible for the draw. Cooper is joining in at the moment, saying picked up a former Eskimos Nick Stevens. Oh yeah, right. Starting a collection. That's cool. There's a couple of people that have jersey collections around Australia. I'm sort of one of them. My collection is mostly just so that I can have them up in the background of the show here. But yeah, I've got a bunch of jerseys now, and if there's something that you're chasing, Cooper, and I happen to have it, well, maybe we can do a trade somewhere, and I can get a jersey from your team, and I can send you something that I've got here in the cupboard. What else do I have to mention? Oh, and I wanted to bring the MXBL layout just back up. I wanted to see some thoughts on this, if anyone had any. I played an event in Canberra once upon a time. It's the only one that I can remember that had a Dorito as the back center. And this isn't a Dorito in the back center, but the 3 Doritos up through the center of the field, I think is a pretty cool way to do it. It still has some semblance of a snake on both sides of the field. The center is very chaotic. The only thing I don't like about this field is I wouldn't like to be naming bunkers. I'm typically the person for Asylum who gets the field layout and goes through and names the bunkers. And this would be a real head scratcher to come up with names for the bunkers. So to the guys from STK Entourage who are moving on from Singapore this past weekend, where they picked up 3rd to play in the Division 2 in the MXBL this weekend, and Kayla, and all the guys, I wish you the best of luck at the event. I have no idea how you're going to name all of those bunkers coherently and how you're going to understand how you do it. But yeah, best of luck. I think it'll be fun. I definitely think it will be an enjoyable layout, but I think it's just an added challenge. So communication will be of the most importance at the MXBL this weekend, and I'll have all the results from that here on the show next Monday as well. So yeah, if you're interested in finding out how that all goes down, make sure you join me. And I should be mentioning, as you see them scroll along here, which is perfect time. So the MXBL is coming up this weekend. The MXBL the following weekend is their Division 3, which I mentioned just before. The NXL ACT is coming up. I haven't heard much about that. All I know is that Asylum, we quite often play. We won't be playing that one because the next one that's about to scroll through, sorry, not the next one, NXL WA is coming up. Timmy Colgan, you can speak to him if you want to play that one. But the following one, the Wagga 3-man, is coming up on the same day, March 26th, which is now, I'm reliably informed by Luke, sold out, which is a great result. A lot of events are struggling for numbers, and we would typically take up to 12 teams across 2 days, but I've cut it back to just the 1 day for this particular event, and getting 9 teams is a great result. So I'm really thrilled with that. Thank you to everybody who has signed up and will be coming to Wagga to play that one. Chris saying, what's the obsession with snakes on both sides of the field? Yeah, it went through a bit of a phase a few years ago. We've got photos. I think we did it at a Wagga 3-man once. I know we definitely did it at training a couple of times. It's just something that you do to make, to vary the fields up. There is only so many formations that you can have of snakes and a Dorito. So switch it up. At least it's not that of like the opposing mirrored field that was mirrored the opposite direction that went through a bit of a phase last year. That was fun for everyone to play one event, but after that, I think that one can go back in the draw for a little while until we do it again. Some birthday shout outs, more STK mentions here. Trav from STK is celebrating a birthday this week, along with Lockie, Steve, Diane, and Pops. So happy birthday, March 12th. Don't know why the date is quite so popular. Random luck there. Across the 4 people celebrating birthdays this week, but happy birthday to all you guys. I hope you have a good week. And Cooper saying there was a flip field layout in the US, so the snake went into the D side and vice versa. Yep, that's what happened. Always does. And Lachlan says that they'll be at, so PPG I'm referring to here, will be at the NXL. It's always crickets from that event though for some reason. Yeah, Graham and the guys there. Well, Graham's actually, if you follow him on social media or are friends with him, He owns a plane, and for living in Canberra, he spends a lot of time not in Canberra, and fair enough, particularly during the winter. But he's down in Tasmania at the moment, flew himself down there. I seen on social media earlier today, so that might be why you're not getting a response from him in regards to the upcoming event in a couple of weeks' time. But PPG will be there. I'd have to imagine that Canberra Mafia and Riot will be there. I'm not sure what other teams will be playing that one. Chris Thomas saying Asylum decided it was someone else's turn to win an NXL ACT. Yeah, well, we've been on a streak for 2, I think. I don't know if there was any in 2020. Maybe there was 1 or maybe 2. I can't remember. Before the whole COVID mess happened. No, I might have been 1 at the end of the year. Regardless, in 2021 and 2022, I think there was 4 each year, and we won all of them. Yeah, best of luck to all the teams that do play the NXL ACT, and someone else will grab a first place medal for the first time in a couple of years. And Luke saying, are you playing half day Saturday and Sunday for the tourney? Well, the Saturday at the Wagga 3-man will be $30 per person if you want to play on that afternoon, and you can bring your own paint if you've got a little bit of paint. I'll probably limit that to 1 box per person. And then I've got a whole bunch of paint, some that is old, that is not so great, some that might just need a little bit of a towel, and some that's pretty good that I've just sort of had sitting there for quite some while, probably in the region of 20 boxes of paint. And it's just going to all go on the table, and everyone who chips in $30, you can just scrim from sort of 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. on the Saturday prior to the Wagga 3-man for $30, because I know that some of that paint is of average quality, is probably the nicest way to put it, but it'll be free range. You shoot as much as you want, and whatever doesn't get shot will pretty much be to chrono guns or to throw in the bin. So yeah, get amongst it. Chris saying 9 events, 9 wins. Yeah, Chris would know. He's right across that stuff. So that's how the Wagga 3-man will be playing out for this one. Thought I'd just quickly mention the prize list again. If anyone new is checking out the show and isn't aware of all the prizes that I'm giving away this year, again, patreon.com/PBHQ is the place to sign up if you are looking to be in with a chance of winning any of those. The Plague, Tank Vents, and Timmy Colgan, if he's still in the chat, or any of the STK guys, probably have a few of those, and I've used them traveling internationally. A very handy bit of gear if you want one. Jason is in at the moment as well. Thanks for joining in, mate. We're just about to wrap up for the night. I think that's everything that I've got to cover off on. Let me just check through. Yep, I've got through the lot. So thank you, everyone, for checking out tonight's episode of the show. If you can hit the share button before I am done, I would appreciate that. If you can hit the like button or the thumbs up on YouTube and the subscribe button, that would be great too. And then, yeah, set your reminders. Join me again next Monday, same time, and we'll talk all things Total War and the MXBL from Canyon Paintball in Malaysia. Thanks, guys. Have a great week. Bye.